Buddha considered the gratitude and the gratefulness as the mother of all the good qualities. In Mahamangala Sutta, the Buddha says, having a grateful mind is a blessing for your life. Okay, so how can we practice this gratitude? And what is the meaning of gratitude? Now, the word that is given to gratitude, given for the gratitude in Buddhism is called katanyuta. Katanyuta means the ability to remember what one have done to you. That means the helps that have done to you. If you can remember the people and the helps that you have given, okay, people have done to you, then that is called the gratitude. So how can we practice this? Well, you can be grateful and you can be thankful for almost everything in your life. Let's say you take your food plate to your hand. You can practice gratitude in there. How? You can be grateful for the people who made that food. Maybe your wife, maybe your husband, maybe someone who helped you. Okay? So you can be grateful for them. You can say that, thank you. Okay, genuinely you can say that, thank you. I'm grateful for you. Okay? Because of you people, I live happily and I live in comfort in my life. In every morning, okay, in every morning, take a little time to practice this gratitude in your life. Okay, wake up in the morning and say that I am thankful for my life. Okay, I am thankful for the people who lived around me, who helped me, okay, who was there with me in my life in the hardest times. And also in the same time, we can be happy about the tough times and bad people in our life too. Okay, so many people don't think about this because we become grateful for only for the good people and the good situations in our life. No, we can be grateful for the bad people and difficult situations in our life. How can we do that? Well, because of the bad people and because of the bad situations and tough situations in our life became so much interesting, right? Imagine if your life became all the things, like you got all the things you wanted, okay? And there were all the people who were good and nice to you, okay? You didn't face any tough situations in your life. There's nothing much interesting about your life. But because of the bad people and because of the tough situations and the bad days in our life became so much interesting, no? Because there's a story for us to tell. Okay, there is an interesting story for us to tell. That is why the more we face tough situations, our life becomes so much interesting. So we can be thankful for the bad people and say, like, thank you for giving me tough times. Thank you for giving me the ability to practice the patience and love and kindness and compassion for you because of you people. In that way, you see, if you think about it, you can be grateful for every situation and everything in your life. So every single day, when you wake up in the morning, take a little moment to say thank you for everything and every person in your life. So keep that in your mind and practice this wonderful quality of gratitude. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to today's video. Today, I want to share with you some meditation tips and some mindsets that we should develop while we're sitting to meditation. Now, one of the most difficult things when we are doing meditation is to keep going the meditation. That means to do it every single day. Okay, it is very easy to start meditating. It is very easy to start a session of meditation, but it's very, very difficult to maintain it continuously, to do it every single day. Okay, these are the problems that most of the time many meditators struggle with. They say, like, okay, I cannot meditate every day. Maybe I don't enjoy sometimes doing it. So there are some mindsets that you should practice and you should develop before sitting to the meditation to keep it going. So from this video, we are going to discuss about it. So without any further ado, let's dive in. The first mindset that you should develop when sitting to the meditation is to have less expectations. I know that when we are sitting to meditation, we all like to have a mind of concentration and calmness and peacefulness. But it does not come overnight. It does not come in one practice or one take. It takes a long time for our mind to get into that level. So think of your mind like a baby who is learning to walk. So give yourself a good time and sit down to the meditation with very less expectations. And then you can expect maybe like 0.01% progress from one session of meditation. And just be calm and be patient to and let your mind to be in the progress. Okay, so that is how that you can keep on doing the meditation. Then you can enjoy the meditation, because when we have big expectations and when our minds cannot live up to that expectation, then you will never be able to enjoy doing meditation, because your mind is not becoming what you have expected. So sit to the meditation with very less expectations. The second mindset that we all have to develop while sitting to the meditation is to take a good time. Now, one of the advices that we have given while meditating and when we are sitting to the meditation is to think of yourself like you have time forever. So when you have those other plans in your mind, it's really difficult to meditate. And that is why it is much better to set a timer to meditate. And during that time, you can be fully relaxed and think like, I don't have anything to do but just to meditate, but just to focus on my breath, or just to be aware and mindful about my body and my mind. And when you do that, it creates a peaceful and a comfortable environment for you to meditate. So, as the second tip, take a good time and take good free time to meditate. The third mindset that we have to develop is to let it come and let it go. Now, what do you mean by this? Now, sometimes when we meditate, it is not always possible to be concentrated and to be focused. Sometimes your mind becomes distracted by some other thoughts. But I would say, as long as you're mindful and if you're aware of your thoughts, let it come, okay? And observe it. Don't go behind it. Don't try to chase behind it. Just observe that it is a thought. Observe and identify it as a thought, and then just let it go. Okay? It's something like this. It's not as easy as you think, but if you keep on doing it and if you try to do it, you will be good at it. It is something like this. It's like you're watching a traffic pass by. Okay? You're sitting beside the road and you're watching a traffic pass by. There are vehicles and there are vans and bicycles and buses you pass by. You are not trying to stop these vehicles. You're not trying to chase behind these vehicles. Just you sit by the road and just watch it. Okay? So we don't want to force our mind, or we don't want to force our thoughts to stop it or do anything kind of like that. The best thing is to observe it. Okay? Let it come and observe and identify it as just it is a thought, and let it pass away. Okay? When you do that, it's very easy for you to keep on doing meditation, because sometimes when distracting thoughts or distracting sounds and like people, when you hear certain sounds and thoughts, when you feel those things, you try to fight with it. Okay, you try to struggle with it, and you think, oh, this is a distraction. Okay, as long as you focus on the distraction, and as long as you focus and you think like it is a trouble, it will always be a trouble. So that is why you should let your distracting thoughts come and identify it. Don't be panicked, just let it go. Okay, that is one way to be, and that is one way to practice meditation very peacefully and happily. And last but not least, the final practice and final mindset that we have to maintain during meditation is to be gentle with yourself. Like I said before, think yourself like a little babies. When we all step into meditation, we all are like babies, little babies who are learning how to walk. Okay, so think of a baby. We are not forcing the baby to walk. Okay, we're not forcing him, or we are not telling him to walk by force. Just we let them to walk. Okay, we take a good time and we be gentle with them, Okay, we guide them, but we let them walk, not we force them walk. Okay, so it is much better to be gentle with yourself. Sometimes you may not feel or you may not see any progress while doing meditation, but as long as you keep on doing it, as long as you enjoy doing it every day, trust me, it will make a big progress in your life. So be gentle with yourself while meditating. So these are few mindsets and few things that we all have to develop while doing meditations. So add these mindsets to your meditation and enjoy a happy and a peaceful meditation. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to today's video. Today, I want to share with you how can we deal with accusations in life. Now, there are two types of accusations. The first one is the true accusation, and the second one is the false accusation. Now, no matter how good we are, no matter how better in life we are, mistakes can happen and people can accuse us. So how can we deal with this? Now, in Buddhism, it teaches you when you have been accused in any kind of way, whether it is a true accusation, whether it is a false accusation, you have to establish two qualities in your mind. Okay? What are these two qualities? In Buddhism, it teaches you have to establish the truthfulness in your mind. Okay? You have to be truthful. The second one is you have to be kind at that time. You have to establish the love and kindness at that time. Now, why should we practice and why should we establish these two qualities? Most of the time, when we have been falsely accused, okay, when we have been falsely accused, one of the things that we lose is our kindness and our patience. We become panicked and we try to prove ourselves that we are not wrong, we are right, and we use anger and we use that rudeness to prove ourselves that we are right. But when you become so much panicked and whenever you use your anger and hate to prove yourself right, it's very unproductive and it becomes very unsuccessful in proving that, because most of the time people will never listen to you when you're angry, and people will never listen to you when they are angry as well. So that is why in Buddhism it teaches you, first thing, that one of the best things that you can do is to be kind and to be patient when you are being accused. And the second quality is to establish your mind in truthfulness. Now, what do you mean by that? Let's say you've been accused for a mistake that you have done. Okay. Sometimes we don't like to accept that we have done a mistake. Okay. So at that time we lie and we say like, no, we didn't do that. I didn't do that. But in Buddhism, it teaches you, if you have done a mistake, just accept it and make it correct. Try to correct yourself. Okay. And if you have not done it, you have to clearly say, and patiently with kindness and compassion, you have to clearly say that I didn't do it. Okay. So in that way, you have to establish the truthfulness in your mind. These are the two qualities that we have to practice and you have to develop when we have been accused in any kind of way. So when we add these wonderful two qualities to your life, you try this and see the difference that you get from the accusations. When you accept the mistake that you have done, you gain the trust of the people around you. Okay, so it is very important to practice these simple two qualities in your life. Practice these things and be happy. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to today's video. Today, from this video, I want to share with you one of the most inspirational and one of the most controversial statements from the Buddha. The Buddha said, Attahi attano nato, kohi nato parosya, attanahi sudantena, nathang labati dullabha. The Buddha said, Attahi attano nato, oneself is one's own refuge. Kohinato parosya, how can another person becomes the refuge of another person? With enough self-discipline, right? With thorough self-discipline, one can attain one's own refuge. Now, in life, sometimes we wait for other people to come and change our life, come and save our life. But the Buddha says that this is a sad news, but it is the truth, that no one is coming to save you but yourself. No one can save you but yourself, right? And that is what Buddha teaches you. Try to save yourself by yourself. Now, even the Buddha said, even I cannot save you. I'm not your salvator. The Buddha said that I'm not your salvator. I cannot save you. I can show you the path. I'm a teacher. I'm the guider, but I cannot ascend you to your happiness. I cannot take you to your happiness. The Buddha said that what I have done is showing you the path, right? But by yourself, through yourself, you have to walk the path alone. And that is why in Buddhism, it is all about exploring who you are through yourself, by yourself. Okay. And that is why we have to remember that we are all alone in this world. There is no one that can save us. There are people who can help us. There are people who can guide us, but there is a limit. For an example, if you are going through a tough time in life, let's say you are having anxiety or depression, people can help you. People can tell you what to do and what not to do, and they can guide you. But by yourself, by all means, by yourself, you have to deal with that problem. You have to go through that situation and you have to heal yourself. And that is why I believe, in Buddhism, believe that there is nothing in this life that can destroy you other than your thoughts. And there is nothing in this world that can save you and that can heal you other than your thoughts and how you live in your life. And that is why in Buddhism, it is more given a big space about the self-discipline, to be self-disciplined and to practice it and to explore who you really are. So always remember that no one is coming to save you but yourself. No one can save you but yourself. Keep this in your mind and keep practicing the good things. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. Now, you probably heard about this Buddhist statement and Buddhist saying that says, nothing is permanent in this life and everything is subjected to change. Now, this is one of the core and main teachings in Buddhism, and in Pali language, we call it anicca. Anicca can be literally translated as impermanence or subjecting for something to be changed, okay? So what did really Buddha taught about anicca or impermanence? Let's take a look at it. Now, when we talk about impermanence, now everything that is around us, that we can see, that we can hear, that we can feel, has one nature in common, and that is it is subjected to change. That is one nature that is shared with all the things that are around us, okay? From the smallest atom to the biggest thing in this world, everything is subjected to change and everything is ever changing. There is nothing stable in life. Now, normally when we look at, now it seems like very easily recognizable phenomena and a process, but let's say like this, for an example. Now, there's a cup here, all right? Now, if I ask from you, how does this cup become impermanent? How do you answer? Oh, then you can say, oh, this falls down. When it shatters, it becomes impermanent, okay? That is one way of understanding and one way of recognizing what is impermanent. Now, what Buddha meant about anicca or impermanence is a way more subtler impermanence than what we talk about, okay? Now, the Buddha said, your feelings and your thoughts and your perception and your weave towards this cup becomes impermanent and it is ever changing. Now, that impermanence happens now, right? For an example, like let's say now you can see this is stable, okay? This is not changing. This is not shattered. It stays. But our thoughts and our feelings and our perceptions are ever changing right now, right here. So to understand that kind of impermanent is way more subtler and it is very, very difficult. And that is why we need the meditation practice and spiritual practice to understand this. So how can we recognize and how can we realize this nature of impermanence? Now, the Buddha said the first step is to slow down and to be calm. The Buddha said you cannot comprehend and you cannot realize this kind of impermanence through a distracted mind. When your mind is distracted, it is very difficult to focus on this impermanence. And that is why the Buddha introduced samatha meditation or calming meditations to calm down your mind. And in the meantime, in the same time, we have to practice the wisdom through learning the Buddha's teachings and through wisely reflecting on the reality to bring up the wisdom that is within us. When the calmness and the peacefulness and concentration paired with wisdom, the Buddha said that you can reach and you can identify and realize this kind of impermanence. So, what Buddha meant by anicca is a way more subtler and way more deeper meaning than the normal and superficial meaning of impermanence. So, that is what Buddha meant. So that is what we have to practice to realize and to see in Buddha's teachings. So I hope you got some idea about what anicca is. So add this into your life and try to realize this anicca by practicing meditation and by realizing the true nature of your life. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. I need to ask a question from you. Do you really exist? Now, have you ever thought of this question? It sounds like a funny question, right? Do you really exist? And do I really exist? Now, this was a question that was asked from the Buddha on point, but the Buddha refused to give any answer to this question. Buddha kept silent to this question. The reason why the Buddha kept silent was not because he did not know about anything about this. But the Buddha said that by answering these kind of questions will lead to a lot of wrong views. It will lead to a lot of problems. Okay. Now, for an example, if one said like, okay, I do not exist or you do not exist, then there will be many questions and many problems. Then it will lead to many problems like, okay, if I do not exist, then who is the person who is experiencing all those karma? And who is the person who is being reborn? Okay. And also, if I don't really exist, what's the point of doing good and bad things? Right? There's no point of doing good and there's no point of doing bad. Okay. And there's no point of becoming kind to people. And there's no point of helping people. So it will lead to many problems and many ethical dilemmas by answering these kinds of questions. And that is why the Buddha refused to give answers on point and directly to these kind of questions. But the Buddha explained that who you are, okay? That's what Buddha focused on. So the Buddha said that by answering these kinds of questions, by saying that you don't exist, you fall into one extreme, and that is called nihilism or complete annihilation. Now, one of the complaints that Buddha got in his time was the people complained him that he was a complete annihilator. Okay, he annihilates people by letting them into the nibbana. So people considered nibbana as a complete annihilation. But it is not a complete annihilation. The Buddha said that when you say that you don't exist, it falls under one extreme, and that is called nihilism, which was known as ucceda. And if you say that you exist, then it falls into the other extreme, and that is called the sarasvata or the eternalism. What Buddha teaches you is, what the Buddha says that my teachings lies in the middle. I teach you the middle way. What is the middle way? To find what you consider as who you are or true self, okay, and realize the nature of it. The Buddha did not say that you don't exist. The Buddha did not say that you exist. The Buddha said what one consider as self or I is subjected to change, right? Now, what we consider as I is our eyes, our ears, our nose, our tongue, our body, and our mind. Okay, this is whom we call I. And also, what are the things that we consider as ours? The things that we see, the things that we hear, the things that we smell, and the things that we taste, and the things that we physically feel, and the things that we think. So all those things together we called as I, or my things, okay, myself. So the Buddha said, just take a look at to these things, what you call self, and understand that all the things that you consider as yourself is subjected to change. It is ever changing. For an example, our eyes and our ears, nose, tongue, body, mind is ever changing, right? What we see in this world, what we experience in this world is subjected to change. Right here, right now, it is changing. So the Buddha said, what you consider as I or myself or mine is subjected to change. Then the Buddha said, if something is subjected to change, and that is suffering, okay, that leads to suffering. For an example, let's say we are having a good time and we are having good experiences and good feelings and happy feelings. So what we like to do, we like to feel, we like for them to be permanent. Okay, we like to feel good forever, but it is subjected to change. Okay, it is changing, and when it is changing, we suffer. And let's say we are having a bad experience or difficult experience, then with what we think is, okay, this pain, this suffering is going to last forever, but it is also subjected to change. So that is why the Buddha said, what you consider as you is subjected to change, and if something is subjected to change, it is suffering. And then Buddha said, if something is suffering, should it be considered as mine or I or myself? Turns out it is not. Why? Because if something is suffering, we should not consider it as ourselves. We don't like to consider it as ourselves, because as human beings, okay, as beings, we all like to be happy, not to suffer. Okay? And that is why the Buddha said, Buddha did not say that you do not exist. The Buddha did not say that you exist. The Buddha said, what you consider as yourself, what you consider as I, is subjected to change, and it is suffering. And then, as it is suffering, it should not be considered as self. Now, this whole concept is called anatta in Buddhism. Anatta, the word anatta, is oftenly translated as no self. But rather, when you take this word no self, right, it gives the meaning that you don't exist. That is why many people say, okay, the Buddha said that you don't exist. No, Buddha did not say that you do not exist. The Buddha said what you considered as I or you is not yourself. Okay, it should not be considered as yourself, and that is what the concept of anatta. Rather than saying no self, it's much better to say that it is not self. And this is the whole idea behind the concept of anatta in Buddhism. So I hope you learned something new today. I wish you all, may all of you be happy and healthy. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to today's video. What should we do when we have been criticized? Now, no matter how good we are, no matter how talented we are, okay, no matter how skillful we are, we've been criticized, and we all will be criticized even in the future, okay? No matter how good things that you do to this society, there are people who are not agree with you, who will see you as someone who is like a bad person. So it's okay to be like that. It's okay for people to not to understand you. So how can we deal with this criticism? Now, when it comes to criticism, there are two types, right? The first type of criticism is the constructive criticism. That means if someone is criticizing you to improve yourself, to make yourself more successful, okay? For someone who is looking for your happiness and for your successfulness, may criticize you for the good, okay? But there is the other type of criticism, and that is the negative criticism. Okay, people sometimes when they cannot understand you, people when they are jealous of you, they may criticize you to put you down. So how can we deal with it? Now, I found this wonderful story in Buddhism that teaches you something about criticism. In the past, in the Buddha's time, a group of people went to a monastery and they wanted to meet some monks. So, first of all, they went to a monk, and he was living kind of a silent and very secluded life. He didn't prefer to talk much. So, they went to him and they met with him and asked to preach some teachings in Buddhism. But this monk was so silent, so he used to stay silent, maybe talk a few words, and didn't give much information, right? So they start to criticize that monk, saying like, this monk is staying silent. Why he doesn't know anything, right? So they start to criticize. And they went to the other monk to meet, and that monk had a good idea and good way of explanations, and he knew about very deep teachings of Buddhism. And that monk explained very deep and profound teachings in Buddhism. So they could not understand that. Then what they did was they started to criticize, oh, he teaches very complex things and we cannot understand anything. Teach us something simple, right? So they criticized that monk as well. Then they went to the next monk, and he was using very simple ideas and very simple ways of explanation to them. And he was explaining the Buddhism in a more simpler way, right? Then that group of people start to criticize that monk as well. Oh, he's being always simple and superficial and using these simple things we all can understand. Teach us something complex and teach us something deep. Now, all these three monks was confused, like, why do they do it like this? So they went to meet the Buddha. These three monks went to meet the Buddha and informed this incident. Then the Buddha said, no matter you stay silent, no matter you teach complex stuff or like profound stuff, or no matter you use simple words to speak, you will always be criticized by people. That's the nature of this world. No one has never been criticized in this world. Okay? So that is why we have to understand criticism is something that we all face in all of our lives. One thing that you have to be okay with is that for people to not to understand you. Okay? Not every person can understand you. Not every person can comprehend that what you are doing. As long as you're doing good, as long as you're doing something helpful for yourself and others, then keep on doing it, whether you've been criticized or not. So that is what we have to have. That is the view that we have to have on the criticism. If you're doing something good, keep on doing it. Do not ever stop being a good person and doing good because of people who cannot understand you. Keep that in your mind. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. In Buddhism, there is a practice called sila. Sila is the way of self-discipline and moral conduct and virtuous behavior. So let's talk about sila from this video. So fundamentally, all Buddhists practice 5 precepts. These 5 precepts are abstaining from killing beings, abstaining from stealing, abstaining from sexual misconduct, abstaining from telling lies, and abstaining from using intoxicating drinks and drugs. So these are the 5 precepts that all laymen and laywomen practice. And on Poya days or full moon Poya days and full moon days, which is a special day for all Buddhists, they practice 8 precepts. And for a novice monk or a junior monk, they get 10 precepts to practice. And for a senior monk or a higher ordained monk, they have 227 precepts to practice. So a lot of disciplinary codes and a lot of precepts and a lot of, you might think, a lot of rules, right? This is a complaint that most of the time that I hear from people who are new to Buddhism. They say, oh, there are a lot of rules, there are a lot of disciplinary codes, and there are a lot of restrictions. It kind of steals my freedom. But here's the thing. Buddhist precepts are not meant to be rules. They are not rules. They are self-disciplinary virtues that Buddha introduced to practice to keep the mind out of regret, and to keep the mind more wholesome, to bring the mind to a more wholesome state. So why did Buddha introduce this practice as a sila or a disciplinary, these virtues or moral conducts or precepts? Why did he do that? The reason is the Buddha realized when someone engaged in such activities like breaking a precept, it accumulates bad karma or unwholesome karma. And what unwholesome karma leads to? That leads to suffering or regret. For an example, if someone kills animals or kill living beings, that needs to, he must create a lot of unwholesome intentions like violence, cruelty, and harmful thoughts, right? So these thoughts will lead to harmful results or suffering. The Buddha said that intention is the karma. Chetanahang bhikkhave kammang vadami. Monks, I say, the intention is the karma. So as intention is the karma, if someone generates more unwholesome intentions, then he will accumulate more unwholesome karma, which leads to unwholesome results or suffering as a result. So the Buddha said, it is much better to stay away from these actions which leads to suffering in life. And that is why Buddha introduced sila as a practice to be disciplined from your body and from your words, to live a life of less regret, right? So most of the time, people, when they commit or when they do these such offenses, or I would say when they do such unwholesome actions, what is the final result? It leads to the regret, right? They think like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Maybe after a long time, they'll think like, I shouldn't have done that. To stay away from that regret, to stay away from your mind complaining to yourself that you're a bad person, you did this bad thing, to stay away from that, the Buddha said, be disciplined. Live a life of self-discipline, or live a virtuous life. That is why Buddha introduced these precepts as sila. And also remember that if someone breaks such a precept, there is not a person or there is not any God who is going to punish that person. Buddha is not coming to punish you, okay? So if someone breaks the precepts, the Buddha introduced a way to make it correct, okay? If you did a mistake, the Buddha said that it is okay to do mistakes. Mistakes can happen, but you have to correct that mistake. Understand that mistake as a mistake, okay? Understand that offense as an offense and correct it. The way to correct an offense or a mistake is to be open up. Do not hide that offense. Do not keep that mistake in your life and hide it and cover up and live like pretend to be a good person. The Buddha said, if you did an offense, be opened up. Tell it to a wise person who can understand you and who can forgive you. Tell it to that person and free your mind. Okay? That is why in monk's tradition, usually in monk's disciplinary codes, if a monk did an offense, or it is called apatti in monk's tradition. If apatti has happened, a mistake has happened, the way that we can correct that mistake is to go to a brother monk or a spiritual companion and to be open up to him, to say that I did this offense, this mistake has happened within me, so I'm going to correct it. I'm trying my best to protect and to be disciplined hereafter. And that is the way that we correct our mistakes. So you may be wondering, what is the use of practicing sila or being disciplined? So in Kimattiya Sutta, the Buddha explained this to Venerable Ananda. Venerable Ananda asked from the Buddha, Bhante, what is the purpose and benefit of wholesome, virtuous behavior, which is sila? The Buddha says, Ananda, the purpose and benefit of wholesome, virtuous behavior is non-regret. By practicing sila, it leads to non-regret. And what is the purpose and benefit of non-regret? The purpose and benefit of non-regret is joy. And what is the purpose and benefit of joy? The purpose and benefit of joy is rapture, is more spiritual pleasure. And what is the purpose and benefit of rapture? The purpose and benefit of rapture is tranquility. And what is the purpose and benefit of tranquility? The purpose and benefit of tranquility is pleasure. And what is the purpose and benefit of pleasure? The purpose and benefit of pleasure is concentration. And what is the purpose and benefit of concentration? The purpose and benefit of concentration is the knowledge and vision of things as they are, the realization of reality. And what Bhante is purpose and benefit of the knowledge and vision of the things as they are? The purpose and benefit of knowledge and vision of things as they are is disenchantment and dispassion. And what is the purpose and benefit of disenchantment and dispassion? The purpose and benefit of disenchantment and dispassion is the knowledge and vision of liberation. So the whole practice, whole steps leads to the liberation. So one must practice the Buddhist precepts to find the liberation, which we call vimukti in Buddhist tradition. So being disciplined, it will make you liberate. So someone can think being disciplined and having these disciplinary codes will lead to like restricted life, more difficult life, more boring life. Someone can say, usually people say that, oh, monks' life is so boring. They have a lot of things to, like a lot of restrictions and a lot of rules to practice. It is difficult, it is boring. Actually, the monk's life is so interesting and more enjoyable and more happy, because so many things, like you haven't tried this. That is why some people think that this is boring. But this is one thing, one life that one can enjoy very much, and which is very peaceful. So always remember, by being disciplined, you can free your mind. And that is why we believe that discipline leads to the freedom. So that is why in Buddhism, it is practiced the sila, or the self-discipline. So this is a little information about sila, or the practice of self-discipline in Buddhism. So I hope you got some idea about this. So let's meet in the next video. Namo Buddhaya. Namo Buddhaya. Welcome to another video. We all know that it is really, really difficult to find our own mistakes and our own faults and correct them. But it is really easy to point out other people's mistakes and find other people's faults. This is one lesson that my parents taught me when I was a child. They said, son, when you point one finger towards others, there are 3 fingers pointing at you. Sometimes there are many mistakes in ourselves, but we keep on finding other people's faults, other people's mistakes. But we all know that we should stop finding faults in others, but it is really difficult. Why is it is difficult? It is because of this habit, the mental pattern of finding faults in others. Luckily, this is a habit which we can change, which we can take control and stop it. So there are a few things that we have to understand and we have to realize to stop finding faults on others and be more focused on ourselves. In Dhammapada, verse number 50, the Buddha says, Na paresang vilomani, na paresang katakatang, attano avikeya, katani akatani cha. One should not find other people's faults. One should not find what good or bad others have done or not have done. Rather, one should find what mistakes and what good or bad things that one has done or has not done. So this is how to be focused on ourselves. Once you realize that no one in this world is perfect, then it is very easy to understand about why they make mistakes and why people keep doing wrong things.
most of the time, we used to complain why they are doing this, right? Why people are behaving like this? Why can't they behave like me? Why can't they be like me? But turns out that no one can be like you. Do not expect people to be like you. Okay? People are people. People are different, one person to another, and that is what makes this human life and human world so much beautiful, because there is this vibrant difference between people. In each and every human-made thing, there is an error. So back in those days when we were learning physics, we used to calculate all the things and measurements, and when we are doing it, we calculate one thing that is called the human error. Okay, what is it? The human error. That means the nature of humans is that there is an error always. And that error is not a bad thing. It is not always a bad thing. Sometimes it is the most beautiful thing in this world. Okay, so understand that no one is perfect, and no one can be like you, and no one can behave according to all the way that you want. Because people are living in their own worlds, in their own lives. They have their own dislikes and likes. So they live according to those intentions and emotions. So we have to understand that no one is perfect in this world. And also understand that everyone is struggling in this life, right? There is this unsatisfied nature in everyone's life. Isn't it? This is one thing that we have to understand. This is one of the major teachings in Buddhism. The Buddha says that realize that there is this unsatisfied nature in your life, right? Understand it as it is. And once you realize that there is this unsatisfied nature in your mind, you can relate it to other people as well. Same as I am unsatisfied, and same as I am suffering in my life, other peoples are also suffering. Other peoples are also struggling in their life. So they will make mistakes. They will do wrong things. So these are the things that we have to understand, just to not to find faults on others, but to rather be focused on our mistakes and our doings and non-doings. So understand these things. And also, there's one thing. Now, by saying this, should you forget all the mistakes that other people do and just focus on yourself? I would say no. Because there are people in your life that you should find faults. You should care about the mistakes that they do. They are the people who live closely to your life. They are the people who love you most. They are the people who you love most. Always remember, when you see such people's mistakes, there is a way to correct them. Okay? It is okay to find the faults on those people, but there is a way to approach them. There is a way to correct them. Do not choose the easiest way to correct other people's mistake. What is the easiest way? Using the anger and using the violence to correct mistakes on other people. This is not a productive way. If you truly love someone, if you truly care about other people's life, their life, you should approach them to correct their mistake in a more productive way. So you should think, what is the most productive way that I can correct their mistakes? Not to just to hold on to not to make them hold on to their own mistakes and keep on doing it. Not just to make them more stubborn on their mistake. So when you consider about that, you find the easiest way and you find the correct way to approach them. The best way to correct someone's mistake is to speak to them privately, not in publicly. Speak to them privately and just explain what mistakes that they are doing. Okay, and explain the consequences of the mistakes. And also, you have to praise and you have to appreciate the good things that they do. The more you see the good side and the bright side of the people, it is very easy to approach them and correct their mistakes. The more we see the negative side or the dark side of the people, here's one thing happen. You lose the ability to communicate. Because we are reminiscing and we just keep thinking about that or the negative idea or the negative point of that person, and just forget about the strengths and all the abilities of that person that we can praise and we can appreciate. And by appreciating that, we can correct that little mistakes in them. So that is why just be more focused on the good side and the bright side of the people. So keep these points in your mind and live happily by seeing the good of other people and by seeing the wonder of this world. Namo Buddhaya. To be happy is every living being's right in this world. Everything that we do, everything that we say, why we are doing them, we do that to be happy. Just ask from yourself, why am I doing what am I doing? You can answer to yourself. You will find that the reason why I do everything in life to make myself happy. If I ask from you, why do you wake up early in the morning and just prepare some food and go out to work? To make yourself happy and to make others happy, isn't it? Yes. You gain happiness by making others happy as well. That you have to remember, right? So there are two types of happinesses in this world. The first type of happiness is called the material happiness, right? And also the other type of happiness is called the spiritual happiness. To call it a good life, to call it a perfect life, one must achieve these two types of happinesses in his life. One must experience both of these happinesses in their life, right? So from this video, I would like to share a wonderful teaching from the Buddha that explains about what are the types of happinesses that a person who is living in a household life, a family life, must achieve. Now, according to Buddhism, there are two types of lives. The first type of life is called the household life. That means the people who are living in a family life, right? Maintaining a family, living in a house, engaging in material pleasures and all the stuff, right? A household life. That means you, right? And also, there's this other type of life. It is called the monk's life, right? Which we can call them the homelessness life. That means we leave our houses, we leave our families and become monks, right? So that we no longer own a house. We no longer own a family. We no longer maintain a family, right? So the ones who renunciate the household life, the ones who leave the household life, they seek a higher kind of happiness, right? That doesn't mean that they don't seek any kind of happiness. We as monks, why we become monks is to seek the spiritual happiness. Now, when you become a monk, it doesn't mean you totally deny seeking the material happiness, right? But for a monk, there must be a limit for seeking the material happiness, because as living beings, we can't totally deny seeking material pleasure. As living beings, we must consume some sort of material pleasures in this world. But that seeking, that consumption of material pleasure must not disturb the peace and the spiritual happiness that a monk is seeking, right? So for monks, there are limitations for material happiness, okay? But it is less of the material happiness and more of the spiritual happiness. So in this teaching of the Buddha focuses on household life, a household, a person who is living a family life. To call that life a perfect life, a good life, the Buddha says that there are 4 types of happinesses that a householder must achieve in their life, right? The first type of happiness, the Buddha called it Ati Sukha. What is it? Ati Sukha. Ati Sukha can be translated into English as the happiness of ownership. Now, what do you mean by the happiness of ownership? Buddha explains the happiness of ownership as one must work hard, put his time and energy and strive and earn money righteously in the correct way. right? He must earn money, he must earn wealth in the righteous way. Now, what do you mean by in the righteous way? Is by you should earn money without harming anyone, without harming yourself and without harming the other people, without harming the society, right? If you earn money without harming anyone, that is the righteous way of earning money. Now, Buddha said, as a householder, you must be happy and you must enjoy earning money, right? Buddha was someone who did not say that you should not pursue happiness. You should not pursue material happiness. The Buddha said, if you are a householder, you must do that. That is your duty, right? So the Buddha said, strive hard, work hard, put your time and energy to what you're working on, and earn money righteously. That is a happiness that you can gain, right? When you have enough money to your life, then you can be happy about thinking that I own this wealth. This is my wealth. That is sort of a happiness that one can gain, right? That is the first type of happiness that Buddha said a householder must achieve in their life at some point in their life, right? That is the first one. The second type of happiness that Buddha taught for householders to achieve is called bhoga sukha. The bhoga sukha can be translated into English as the happiness of enjoyment. Now, first you earn money, right? Now you spend money and enjoy it in the correct way, right? The Buddha says that you have to spend money in a way that you should not harm yourself and you should not harm the other people as well, in the righteous way, right? So that when you spend money doing good things like helping people, helping your parents, with your money, with the money that you righteously earned, and when you spend that money on the people who you love, right, to make them happy, it gives you a happiness, right? It is a great happiness that one can achieve. That you have to achieve in your life. Okay, so the second type of happiness that Buddha taught to achieve is called the bhoga sukha, the happiness of enjoyment. The third type of happiness that Buddha taught us to enjoy in the life is called the happiness of freedom from debt. That we called anana sukha. Anana sukha is the happiness of freedom from debt. Now, when you are free from debt, let's say you don't have any loans or any debt to pay, right? You're financially free. Then how much freedom that one can feel, right? You feel freedom, you feel a happiness that I'm no longer in debt to anything, right? I don't have any loans to pay, I don't have any debt to pay, so I'm financially free. That is a happiness that a householder must achieve in their life, right? That is a great happiness that one must achieve. The freedom, financial freedom, right? This is the third type of happiness. And then the fourth type of happiness, this is the most important thing. This is the most valuable happiness that a householder must achieve in their life, according to the Buddha. Buddha said, the fourth type of happiness is called anavajja sukha. Anavajja sukha means the happiness from blameless life. Now, what do you mean by a blameless life? The Buddha says that you have to do things, you have to say things, you have to live your life in a way that you do everything with a good heart, with a good mind, with a wholesome heart, right? When you spend your life as a good-hearted person, as a good person, as a wholesome-hearted person, right? It gives you a bigger happiness, bigger enjoyment, thinking about who you are. That is the most important thing, because all the other material happinesses, right? All the other three material happinesses, it can give you happiness, right? I don't say that it cannot give you happiness, but if you did not have this happiness, anavajja sukha, if your heart is complaining who you are, what you do, right? If your heart is regretting about who you are, then the other things doesn't matter, right? What matters the most is how you live in this life, right? At the end of our life, the most important thing that we can be happy about is how we live this life, how much love we give to other people, right? How much we help to other people, how righteously and how correctly we lived our life. So the Buddha said, you must achieve this happiness as well, right? So these are the 4 happinesses that a householder, one who is living in a family life, spending a family life, must achieve. So I hope this video and this teaching from the Buddha gave you a little light to your life. So I wish you all, may all of you be able to achieve all of these happinesses in this very life. Namo Buddhaya.